South Africa marks Drug Awareness Week. The Center for Transformation, an organization dedicated to helping individuals break free from the cycle of drug addiction, has launched a new groundbreaking rehabilitation model. This innovative approach is designed to provide long-term trauma-informed and holistic care with a strong focus on reintegration and measurable outcomes. The launch coincides with International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking observed globally on the 26th. So what's driving this ongoing crisis and what the real solutions are within this particular process? Curt van Heerden, founder of the Center of Transformation, is joining us now. Curt, good to have you. Thank you very much for your time. It's a mouthful, this new approach that you're taking to drug rehab. What informs it?
Good day. Thank you so much for having me here. I think what informs this approach that we have taken is simply the relapse rate that we have seen and the growing relapse rate that we are seeing in South Africa, which is sitting between the percentages of 60% and 70%. That has undeniably informed the approach of this new model that we are taking.
Why is relapse rate sitting at such a high level?
Because the current rehab model in South Africa is a 30-day program, and it's impossible to help any struggling addict in 30 days because it takes about 3 months to 9 months for the brain to develop a new neural pathway. So the current rehab model in South Africa is only for 30 days, and that contributes to the relapse rate in South Africa sitting between the percentages of 60 and 70%.
So you're saying that the system from its onset is rigged, I suppose, lopsided to fail. It would have never worked in its current form.
Oh, yes, most definitely. Because, as I said, within 3 months, you cannot even trust what an addict is saying. Within 3 months, they know what to say, how to say it, and when to say it. They study how to manipulate individuals. An addictive addict is very manipulative in he or her ways. So, yes, in many ways, that system cannot and shall not and will never be successful.
So what would have informed then a decision to go for a 3-month or a 6-month program? I suppose budgets would be part of the consideration, especially if you're looking at government-funded rehab programs.
And that's where we got to have the tough conversations. I think when we look at 3 months, that's not even enough, right? So we have to look at 6 to 9 months. And that's exactly what our program entails. Our program is a 6 to a 9 month program. Every single month in that 6 months to 9 months has a specific focus. Month 1 would have a focus up to month 9. And every week in that month has a focus as well. That's when we take the individual through an organic process. That's what's nice about what it is that we do at the Center of Transformation. Our whole staff that works at our organization are also individuals who has come through this very program that we are now advocating for.
This concept of holistic rehab, you're saying it is soaring, particularly among young people as far as demand is concerned. Where is it borrowed from, or is it something that is purely, I suppose, an invention of the Center of Transformation, or is it a program that has been used elsewhere with a great deal of success?
Oh, I love that question. So over the last 10 years of being addicted to the addict and doing the work that I've been doing, not only have we now recently on the 26th of June rebranded and relaunched to Center of Transformation, but one of the reasons is we wanted to change, and we are going to change how addiction is looked at in South Africa. So the program has been born from the interactions I've had with various individuals coming from different rehabs and having been addicted to various different types of substances. So over the 10 years, after having engaged with each and every one of them, we have drafted up a tailor-made program that you're not going to find anywhere in South Africa. We have drafted this program based upon how the model in South Africa has failed those in the past looking for recovery from addiction. So our model has been designed based upon how these individuals over the years has come from these 30-day, 40-day programs and how they have explained to me how it has not worked, how it has impacted them. And based upon that, over the 10 years, I've developed a program together with an amazing team that is tailor-made for the addicted addict, the affected family, and our bleeding communities.
Now, you speak of symptoms of structural and intergenerational trauma. I mean, when I just look at that word, intergenerational trauma, it tells me that, of course, 3 months is not enough. But I would even venture and say even 6 months is not enough. We've had people who go to therapy for years and years to deal with such a thing as intergenerational trauma.
Intergenerational trauma literally comes from us understanding what is not transformed in the one generation is transferred into the next generation. That's why when we look at dealing with not only the addicted addict in reference to their addiction, we have to understand how do we heal them as a person. Because without healing the addict as a person, we will transfer trauma from one generation to the next. Hence, it's beyond just recovering the addict from his or her addiction. It really must be about healing them as a person. Therefore, 6 to 9 months is the program that we should be looking at. But as you rightfully said, sometimes 6 months is not even enough. But if we can equip them with the proper tools that's required, we can start winning.
Yeah. So quite interesting, you say sobriety is not the goal. I mean, you always hear that, no, keep them clean for a good 3 months, keep them clean for a good 6 months, and that's it, put them back into society, that will work. You're saying sobriety should never be the goal.
If sobriety is the goal, then we are saying we're not concerned about the person. Because you can find sobriety without being healed as a person. But you can't be healed as a person and not find sobriety. Saying to the addict that all you need to find is sobriety is giving them a catapult and expecting them to defend themselves against a community that will come at them with a machine gun. The people that are selling the drugs are growing. Drugs in and of itself is growing. Community is advancing and it's changing the way it does things. And that individual sobriety will indefinitely be short-lived in a community that's growing with his past that he was a victim to.
Now, if, for example, when we would speak to the community of Dorado Park and the challenges that they are facing there with crime and drug-related crime in particular, they'll tell you a similar narrative to say, well, the challenges are structural. And so a program like yours, not attached to other socio-economic development interventions, would fall flat.
Yes, absolutely. That is why we endeavor to develop relationships with stakeholders within the communities so that we can join hands. Because I always say it's like sodium and chloride. If you take any one of them in their sufficient quantities on their own, it's dangerous. But if you mix the two, sodium and chloride, you get a mineral necessity to sustain your life. Rehabilitation work without involvement of community stakeholders and other leaders leading socio-economic initiatives is a recipe for disaster. We can only find great victory over addiction when the rehab finds relationship with the infrastructure of the community that addict will be reintegrated back into.
Curt van Heerden, we wish you well with your endeavor, and thank you very much for coming on, CEO at the Center of Transformation, as we observe this week, and particularly dealing with drug abuse. And they, of course, introducing a new model that is beginning to look at the structural and intergenerational trauma that affects the addict and bring them out of that, leading to a holistic healing, they say. Well,